It's $1,600 one way. Hey, I don't know if y'all heard, but Ibrahim said we could all come home. Bring our ancestors with us. It's room for all of us. It's $1,600 one way. Hey,
People were paying 300 something dollars to get a membership with the promise of later getting citizenship in Burkina Faso. Okay, that's red flag number one when you are an expat. But actually, go through and look at the actual government website so you can see if something is legitimate or not. Because we are hearing that people sent in birth certificates, social securities, photos to this organization, thousands of dollars. And what has come of that? Well, it looks like a data collection scrap that's kind of actually really strange now that you think about it. People were paying 300 something dollars to get a membership with the promise of later getting citizenship.
All right. Welcome to This Week in Ghana. This is a little bit of a special episode because we are talking a bit about what's happening with Burkina Faso and citizenship, since we've talked about citizenship in these live streams in Ghana in particular. I thought it would be prudent to talk about what's happening in Burkina Faso. But before we get into the stories, let's do some introductions. So I'll turn it over to my co-host for an introduction before I introduce myself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ivy Prosper, and I am a YouTube creator. I am a producer, a writer, author of the book, Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana. I provide consultations on moving to Ghana, and we are doing this bi-weekly live stream talking about news from Ghana and other parts of Africa, news that is timely and matters. You can find me on my YouTube channel, which is my name, Ivy Prosper, Instagram, Ivy Prosper. Facebook is also Ivy Prosper, and TikTok as well.
There it is. And I am Joe Hatagwa, founder of Authentic African. Our goal is to help people do one of three things: visit, move, or invest on the continent of Africa. We are bridging the gap between those living on the continent and those living in the diaspora. So, as stated, we do this on a bi-weekly basis where we talk about mostly Ghana, but in this case, we have to talk about what's happened in Burkina Faso. For those of you who are unaware, over the last year or longer, there's been lots of discussions around Burkina Faso offering citizenship. I used to do a live stream, if you guys might remember, with African Stream. It seems like so long ago, before they got kicked off the internet. And when I used to do that live stream, I would go live with Inem Richardson, who was based in Burkina Faso. And every time I posed the question to her, she would say to me, there is nothing that I have seen from the government that says citizenship is being offered to the diaspora. She said she was living there. She does not currently have citizenship. She is a dual citizen with Nigeria, if I'm not mistaken, but she does not have Burkina Faso citizenship. And she had been living there since before Ibrahim Traore took over. In fact, she was there before the coup that happened the previous year. She had been there for at least 5 years at this point in time in Burkina Faso. And people kept asking me about it, so I kept asking her, and she said, there is nothing that I am aware of. Now, as you guys saw over this last year, there was a lot of support for Ibrahim Traore, right? When Michael Langley, the Army general from the United States, made the statements that he made, which he actually walked back later. We saw massive protests in the streets in the Caribbean, in the United States, across the continent of Africa, and in Europe, right? And we saw this groundswell of support around Ibrahim Traore. His searches went through the roof. There was all kinds of AI videos of him speaking in English. So many things that were coming out about Ibrahim Traore. And one of those things was citizenship. Specifically, the ADDI apparently put out a notice to their subscribers and their members that citizenship would be available in Burkina Faso. Ivy shared with me a video that I watched from Go Black to Africa, where a couple of people from ADDI spoke about their experience. And also there was a little bit of blame laid at the feet of certain people. But I do want to play a video from a young lady who, because that live stream is very long. The link is in the description. If you want to watch it, you can go back and watch it. There's no clip from it that would work to be able to share here on this call because it's two different people telling a long story. It's over an hour long. But what I do have is a video of someone who talks about moving abroad outside of the United States. And she does talk about the basics of what happened here with Burkina Faso. So we're going to play a little bit of this video. We'll have some commentary and some additional context on the other side. So I will play it now, and we will be back in a moment.
This is coming, and it involves Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, I repeat, listen well. Burkina Faso has no automatic citizenship for the African diaspora as of 2025, okay? And we're gonna get into it in this video, and then I'm gonna tell you about two other African countries with brand new CBI, citizenship by investment programs, with citizenships, but with digital nomad permits, with routes. Again,
okay, so I'll just leave it at that because at the end of the day, she does talk about other companies that have citizenship by investment CBI programs, which are a very different thing than what we're talking about here. But Ivy, do you want to give some commentary and give some background to the ADDI, how their interactions in Ghana, some history? I believe you know the founder of ADDI or someone in senior leadership there. So for those who are listening and who are wondering what is ADDI and why is there blame being laid at their feet, maybe some context might be helpful for those who are watching.
Well, I don't personally know anybody who works directly with ADDI. I know that what they did, and I actually did a video on my channel talking about the citizenship opportunity because when I found out about it, I immediately shared it with my audience.
Right.
But I didn't have any other information besides what was on the ADDI website. And for those who don't know, ADDI is the African Diaspora Development Institute, and it was founded by Dr. Ericana Kwao, I believe she's the founder. And so what they did was there was a fee that people had to pay. They had to join as members of ADDI. And then there was a fee in order for them to be part of this trip that they were going to be going to Burkina Faso for citizenship. And apparently the date had changed from the original date, which I believe was supposed to be in April. It changed to October. So it's supposed to be the end of this October. And what I'm understanding is that now what was being called citizenship opportunity is now being told to them that it's not citizenship, but they have a chance for residency. And so some of the questions that people had were supposed to be getting answered on the website, the Q&A. There's a Q&A page on their website that answers people's, frequently asked questions. And some of them, when I think about it, it's too good to be true, because I think that one of the challenges that we have with the diaspora community is everybody has the emotionally charged to want to become a citizen of an African country because your lineage was displaced from the continent. You're living somewhere that maybe you feel like it's not really your home. You may feel a disconnect. You may feel like you're not being treated well where you are currently living, and you're looking for an option of a place for citizenship. And so what happens is it's easy for people to get excited about citizenship opportunities, especially after Ghana did their citizenship for so many people. But the thing is, Ghana also requires people to live in the country. Like, people have to be here to get citizenship. There was no, you're far away and you're filling out a form and you're paying for something, and then when you come, you get it. It was never like that. It's always been that you have to show that you really want to live in the country. And I think what was problematic about this one, in my opinion, is I don't know why you would want to become a citizen somewhere that you've never been, number one, and then somewhere that you don't speak the language because it is a French-speaking country. So I know that a lot of the people who are coming as part of this are African Americans, and a lot of African Americans don't speak French. Now, I know that there's other Black people from other countries who also probably joined in with the ADDI, but I know primarily it was people from the United States, and most of them, they don't speak French. And French is a primarily spoken language in Burkina Faso. And I know that the current president has removed it from being an official language. But the reality is, because it was a French speaking country for so long since colonization, people there are speaking French. So if you can't speak one of their local languages, French becomes a default that you can communicate, within the country, which makes it hard for you to integrate if you can't speak the language. But Africa, the continent of Africa, is not an easy place to just say you're going to pack up and just move. So I feel that people should, relax when you see citizenship opportunities. Take your time, visit the country, and see if it's somewhere that you even want to live. Because if you have citizenship there, then it's got to be a place you want to live and you want to invest in. You want to do something, make an impact. It can't just be, you're just holding citizenship for the sake of holding citizenship. Because it's not a citizenship by investment. Because some people will hold a citizenship because they see it for its investment reasons, investment potential. It opens up the doors for something. Like how content creator Tayo Aina went and bought the citizenship in one of the Caribbean islands because he found traveling on his Nigerian passport was difficult. So he looked at another country where it would open up doors for him to travel to other places. So for him, he invested in, I think it was St. Kitts and Nevis that he got the passport. So he paid like $100,000 to get that passport, citizenship by investment. So he saw it as a way to something else. But most of the people who are coming from the diaspora that are looking for citizenship in African countries are looking at it as a homecoming, as a connection of as being a Black person who was displaced. And it's hard to just jump into some of these societies. Like even me, who's from Ghana, who grew up somewhere else when I came back, it's not easy to integrate. It's not easy to come and start a new life there. So I feel like everybody got too excited. Mm-hmm. But also, I think they trusted the organization because of who was leading the organization, as to why people were willing to spend the money for the organization. But my understanding is that there's a membership fee to become a member, and then the registration fee that they paid so that they can come and get the citizenship. I believe there was 2 payments that was made, from my understanding. But there's so much coming out from so many different places, different people saying different things, that it's hard to know what the accurate truth is. There was a live stream that Dr. Obadele Kambon here in Ghana did, but I didn't get to join it. It was done at a time that I wasn't available. And then I haven't been able to go and join the replay because I've just been a bit busy. He had a fee for his live stream though. It was $10 for you to join. And then he says he has accurate information about what's going on. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, and just to add to that, so, yes, Ivy, I think, encapsulated it perfectly. Pump your brakes. I know we all get excited. Me, as someone who was born and raised in the United States with parents that are Sierra Leonean, when I found out I can get citizenship, I ran to the opportunity. And the next time I went to Sierra Leone, I did it in 3 days. Now, that was because I was planning to go back and forth to Sierra Leone often. I wanted to buy land. I wanted to start a business. And I had access to be able to do so at immigration in Sierra Leone. Now, I fast-tracked it from somebody who was senior leadership, who had a desk. I could see his office with his name on his desk. He was stamping papers. Like he was literally an employee of the immigration office in Sierra Leone. So when I went and paid my money to him, I knew that I was getting my citizenship. All the people, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And I don't know why we all do this, but when it comes to Africa, we all just completely throw caution to the wind. And we just think that all the shortcuts are available. I know that people talk about corruption and all kinds of things in Africa, and that just means that people just think I can just pay a fee and then everything just magically goes away. That is not how it works for some things like this, especially citizenship. And I know we saw 500 and 300 plus respective people get citizenship in Ghana just 8 to 12 months ago. Then we hear Sierra Leone offers citizenship 2 different ways. Ascension, for all of you who have West African blood in your system, 50% or more, you can get citizenship in Sierra Leone for about $4,000, 2 different trips in 12 months. They also have citizenship by investment, $150,000 or $100,000 if you want to pay it in Sierra Leone. So I think people conflated all of these things. They saw 800 people get citizenship in Ghana. Ivy covered that very well. A number of people that we know covered it. I talked about it. Actually, I think I had Ivy on the live stream to ask her about it and to talk about that experience because she was around that day. I happened to miss out on that experience. I did not get my Ghanaian citizenship. I know it's crazy. I didn't get it. But you're on mute. What were you saying?
I said, I know you would have got it if you were here, but you had left.
Yeah, I gave up. I gave up on my African dream.
I know.
We
understand.
Yeah. So, no, but of course I'll be back. I'm back often, just so you guys know, but to stay on track. So, look, I think that gave a lot of people the thoughts and the idea that it would be easy. And when you see a revolutionary leader, you presume if he stepped into power, not through traditional means, maybe they thought you can get citizenship, not through traditional means. But at the end of the day, you have to think about who Ibrahim Traore is. And he's number one, focused on his people and getting his people back to its rightful place on the world stage and where they need to be. And he's going to still have systems in place to ensure that those people coming there earn the ability to become a Burkina Faso citizen. And so the thing is that it was never on their website that they were offering citizenship in any way beyond the ways that they normally offer citizenship. It was never on their website. It was only a third-party organization that people that came to understand that this was available. Now, some of the things that we heard on the live stream is that there were newsletter emails coming out saying that when you land, you'll get your citizenship. You just pay your membership fee. The two of them talked through the fact that there were multiple times that they were told citizenship will be gotten. One of the people on the live stream moved to Burkina Faso. Now, she did say she doesn't regret it. She's happy she did it. But, she's been giving out laptops, teaching English, teaching French. She's doing a lot of different things on the ground there. And she comes from a social work background. The other gentleman there is from a military background, both of which are very, very intelligent people. But one of the things that they did not take into consideration was there is nothing on the government website that states these things, right? So when I heard about the citizenship by investment in Sierra Leone, people were asking me about it. I said, until I see it on their website, and the websites, sometimes are a little bit slow to update things, or until I speak to someone in the government in Sierra Leone, I am not going to tell people this is something that is real. I had spoken to someone, I got it confirmed, and then I was now saying it publicly. I want you guys to all take this as a lesson. Anything that sounds too good to be true likely is anywhere in the world, especially in Africa. And I think because so many people have an emotional attachment, they let their guard down and allows them to go through these experiences where this happens, especially when you're dealing with diasporans, right? Because you feel like, these are our people. They understand the plight. They come from America. They know what we know. They've been through what we've been through. This is somebody like me. They say all the right things. They have doctor in front of their name. They have more degrees than a thermometer, all of those things. But at the end of the day,
he said more degrees than a thermometer.
At the end of the day, did you see that in the country that you're looking to get citizenship? Did they say that this is something that they're doing? Also, because, it's like you need to have corroborating evidence, right? It's just like anytime you're doing research, you need to have more than one source. When they say cite your sources in a debate, or when you were in school and you had to cite your sources, you need to have more than one source for this kind of information. I'm not saying this to shame people who made that mistake, because I understand it. We all make very, very emotional decisions when it comes to the continent of Africa. I just want to be very, very clear that you want to make sure that you look at those things first. And there'll be multiple organizations, by the way, when these kinds of things happen. It's very rare that it's just one organization that has sole access to these kinds of things. So like right now, there are a number of organizations talking to the government of Ghana to help people get citizenship, right? There are multiple organizations, and many of those were involved in the citizenship ceremonies that happened earlier this year and at the end of last year. So I did want to just say that. And to your other point that you said, Ivy, about getting citizenship, you know, remotely, like in what world do you not set foot on a country and you just get citizenship remotely? Like it's remote citizen. I'm a remote citizen. And that never happens anywhere.
Yeah, and it's a common thing that the diaspora has thought. And I say this because I used to work for the Ghanaian government. I used to work at the Year of Return office, then beyond the return office. And regularly, there would be messages. And even in my own personal DMs, I get messages from people, usually from the US, that'll send me a message to say, how can I get citizenship in Ghana? Can I fill out something online so that I can get citizenship? And it's like, you can't get, and I would always be like, you can't get citizenship remotely. You have to be here in the country, you know, or people who think they can come for a few days, get it, and then leave. And it's like, well, why do you want to come just for a few days, get it, and leave? Why do you want to leave? The whole point of you having it is so you can be here and do some of the things that you want to do. And people would come to our office and they would be like, I've been in Ghana for a week. I want to get my citizenship. And you're just like, there's people who've been living here for a few years who still don't have it. And you just got here a week ago and you think you can come and get it. So I think people should just really understand, like you said, where in the world is it that people just get it remotely? You know, you can't be sitting in Ghana and be like, oh, I want to get citizenship in the States. How can I get citizenship in the States while living in Ghana? You know, it's not something that's done.
Yes. And press releases are released by governments anytime they're doing something like this. It's good for their PR, right? So, you know, whether it's the defense minister who's speaking out against Michael Langley, when it's eventually Ibrahim Traore who spoke out against Michael Langley, when it has to do with the visa. So one thing Burkina Faso did do, which you saw in many places that Burkina Faso, it came from them, right, was that they were doing visa-free travel to Burkina Faso for other Africans. They stated that on multiple occasions publicly. So why wouldn't they also say, Burkina Faso, you can come home and get your citizenship? And so I wanted to mention that. And then to the last piece I'll just say here is, you know, when it comes to citizenship in any country, they generally have documents and things you have to fill out from the government. There is no situation where someone else fills out your document. You still have to go through an application process. You fill out documents. You are in contact with that government. There aren't third parties that collect stuff on your behalf and present something to you, right? Regardless of who is operating in partnership with the government, they're bringing you to the process. They're not doing it for you. So that's the other thing that you want to keep in mind when it comes to anything, for anything that comes to when it comes to citizenship. And so for those of you who are just joining, we are talking about the fact that there were many people who thought they were going to be able to get citizenship in Burkina Faso, and now the discussion is basically about potential residency. And it is not about citizenship. So permanent residency, as Star Smith says, is still a really good deal, honestly. I agree, but the way that the gentleman described it on that live stream was that he was sold a diamond. He actually really put this very well. He said he was sold a diamond. He paid for a diamond. He was expecting a diamond, and what he got was coal. And you know, with coal, with the right pressure and amount of time, it can become a diamond, but he wasn't sold a coal. He was sold a diamond, but he was given coal. And so what he's saying is, yes, permanent residency is a step in the right direction, but it's not citizenship. Citizenship in so many ways means so many different things in many countries. So many people pursue citizenship. One, because that means that your child generally can automatically become a citizen, regardless of wherever they were born. Generally, citizenship, naturalization for citizenship, most countries have a version of that. And so that's one way people do it. Other people like to collect passports. Jay-Z once said, I got 5 passports, I'm never going to jail, right? So I know some people really like the idea of collecting passports. For other people, it's difficult for them to start a business in a country without having a citizenship. So they want to be able to get citizenship so they can start a business. And then for other folks, it's the civic duty. They want to vote and they want to be involved in the civic process of choosing a leader of the country, especially if it's a country they're going to be living in or spending time in or investing in. So we understand all those things. We just want to caution you that it rarely happens remotely. It never happens remotely. You know, there were some anecdotal stories about folks who were able to fly in and out just for the interview and then fly in for the ceremony and out of Ghana. That's not the large majority of the people who were there in Ghana for citizenship, right? Most of the people who had been there for years were there. There were a few people who happened to know the right person, who knew the right person, who could tell them, here's when you need to come in to do this, and here's when you need, and that was people who had the ability to buy a flight. Like if you know that it's happening on Monday and it's a Friday, you can buy a flight to land on Sunday night, right? Not everybody has that financial capability. And so we just wanted to caution you all to be to think about these things, and you know, just don't throw caution to the wind. And you know, Ivy and I did an interview a couple of weeks back when I was in Ghana, and I encourage all of you to watch it. I made an emotional decision, so this is coming from someone who made an emotional decision and didn't really plan my time on the continent, which is why I'm back in the States. If you want to hear that story, definitely watch that video, that interview that Ivy did. It's a really good one, if I do say so myself.
It is. A lot of people have resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think so. And I was very honest about everything. How much money I came with, how much money I made, how much money I spent, you know, where my money came from, all of that. And so there's a lot that I talked about that I haven't talked about really much at all. And I think it's helpful. I thought it would be helpful for other people. So I'm glad people are resonating with it.
A lot of people have really apprecited it.
Yeah. So
I want to go.
Yeah. If you have something else, please.
Yeah. I want to go back to when you said that government, it should be on a government page. Government has to make an announcement so that people are aware. The other thing that I noticed is sometimes when I get information or news stories, I always want to check to see if it's being reported anywhere, like by official news outlets or news outlets reporting on it. So for example, with Benin, because Benin now is offering citizenship, that one we have seen the government has actually made statements, and I've seen the Associated Press reported on it.
Yep.
Some of the news outlets in Canada reported on it. Like I've seen like mainstream media actually report on Benin citizenship. So then that one you saw that, okay, this is actually happening. Their president met with Spike Lee and Spike Lee's wife. So it's like there's official people who've actually been in there talking about it, but we haven't heard anything. Because I know when I heard about it first, like I said, I did a story on my page, and I had said the only thing I had seen was the ADDI, that you would register through there and they would be helping you. But then I didn't do anything else after that because I didn't see anything else after that. And then months down the line, now I'm getting messages from people who are talking about, you know, what's happening and how they feel like some of them said they feel like they've been taken advantage of. They feel like they've, you know, had their hopes and desires taken advantage of, some of them have said. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I will say the two people on the live stream did not blame Ibrahim Traore. They blamed ADDI, and they felt like they were, you know, kind of sold a lemon, and they were implying that ADDI wanted to boost its membership, so they embellished. That was the implication, because you do pay a monthly subscription fee to be a part of ADDI, right? So that was the implication on that live stream. I don't know enough about the people involved or ADDI in general, but that was the implication on that live stream. So we watched it, so you don't have to. It was about an hour long, but that's basically what we understood that the people went through. And it was interesting to hear their thought process, because they sound like everyone else that you talk to, that, you know, Ivy's interviewed, that I've interviewed, who is just so excited about moving to the continent and so ready to make that leap. Many of which who do it without any background or any real foundation here. They just make the leap and make the move. And so hearing that had happened with anticipation of getting citizenship is unfortunate, and I hope it doesn't change the outcome of those who are still looking to be, you know, helping Africa get back to its rightful place on the world stage.
Yeah. Dr. Goddess Arts, I see that you're asking whose live stream. We're referring to the live stream that was on the Go Black to Africa page.
Yes.
The Go Black to Africa page, they did a live stream where they had a discussion with people who were actually people who spent their money in hopes of getting citizenship. And it's going to be linked in the video description. I guess once this live stream is over, or maybe you've already linked it in the description
it's there
for people to see.
Yeah, it's there for people to see. This is the page, just, you know, for those who might need 15,000 views on the video
Already.
As you can see, streamed it 22 hours ago. People are very interested in this story. So it's an hour and 18 minutes long. That's an ad. Let me go ahead and pause that so you don't have to hear the ad. But yeah, so you know, 15,900 views so far, a number of comments. Many people have thoughts, as you can imagine. And it's an hour-long live stream with 15,000 views. So you'll get all, if you want to sit down and watch it, it's, you know, it's length of a feature-length film, right? So if you got time, go for it. And
I want to repeat that the people on the live stream did not blame Ibrahim Traore. They said that they blamed ADDI for the issue.
Yeah, I thought I was sharing my screen, by the way. So this is the video here. It's basically these are the comments. You can see them all here. Plenty of comments, lots and lots of comments, as you can see. It's a very, very engaged audience on this video. So yeah, if you want to go through and watch it, you can. So I mean, you know, we want to jump into the Ghana stories. Anything else, Ivy, on this before we move on to those?
That's it.
All right, cool. So now we'll jump into the stories in Ghana, which we normally do on these live streams. So the story is there's a coalition of unpaid nurses and doctors and midwives in Ghana that have been protesting and being vocal. And I even have a petition going to the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health to ensure that they get paid, many of which have not been paid for significant periods of time.
10 months.
10 months of non-payment. 10 months of non-payment. As we all know, in the States, most people do not even have 1 month or one paycheck that they can go without being without a place to stay and without food to eat. And so imagine going 10 months without pay. So we're going to hear from a young lady. This video went viral last week. So we're going to get a chance to hear from her, and then we'll have some more commentary on the other side.
Salary. Personally, my rent expired in 15th August. I've not been able to pay. My landlord is always asking, when are you paying? I'll be like, they'll pay us. Please give me time. I stay at Spantine. I wake up Kolebu. I take transportation, 42 cities to work every day. How do they expect me to get that money to come to work? You go to work, doctors will write. Check patients' vitals, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Do RBS, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You bath patients, you tend patients every 4 hours. I'm doing all this just for the minister to tell me that he appreciates the work that I'm doing. Appreciation, babe. I don't understand. Which form of appreciation? How can somebody work and you tell the person I appreciate you for 10 good months? I can't stand it. I'm owing rent. What should I do to be able to pay my rent? I don't understand. They should pay us. Enough is enough. I'm tired. Enough is enough.
She starts speaking in Tree, I think, which I don't understand. So we'll leave it there. But Ivy, your thoughts on this story?
I think that it's unfortunate. I mean, this is something that I hear happening all the time in Ghana, like for years. Like I hear so many stories for years about people not being paid, people working for the government specifically. It doesn't happen as much in the private sector. It's typically government jobs. So for people who don't know, people who work in the healthcare in Ghana, they're for the government hospitals, they're paid by the government. And Kolebu is a government hospital. So that particular one, she works in the Kolebu hospital, and that's what she was talking about. And this past week, I think it was like 3 days ago, the Employment and Labor Relations Minister came out to say that he's going to assure that the government will clear all outstanding arrears that's owed to the people. I mean, I don't know what kind of assurance that is because they've gone 10 months. And when you've gone 10 months, apparently, I think it's about almost 7,000 people who haven't been paid. And so, like, what are you going to do? Like, where's the money? Is somebody spending the money and that's why they're not being paid when they're supposed to be paid? And when it accrues for that amount of time, that means it's a huge chunk of money that's not being paid. And so now you have to have that huge chunk of money to pay these people in one lump sum. You can't now be like, we'll pay you in installments. You got to pay that one lump sum to these people. So I don't know where they're going to get this money from to pay them when they haven't been paying them all this time. What are they doing with the money that they were supposed to be paying them with is what I'm always wondering, you know, because this is not the first time that I've heard of something like this happening. And the particular girl in that video, there's people doing a fundraiser now to help her because she needs to pay her rent because the landlord will kick her out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and unfortunately it's only for her, right? But what about all the other people that were there, right? She just is the one who went viral. Some people are, if you look at the comments on that video, people are like, can you please tag her? What's her name? Who is she? I want to help her. But it's not just her. It's not just she. It's all the people that were there. And this is not a problem that is unique to Ghana. There are government hospitals and government institutions in many countries on the continent that have this same issue. And this is why so many people take to the streets to protest and are looking for new leadership. And this is why Burkina Faso is always looked at in the way that it is, because you have leadership that has stepped in and said, we're not going to do this anymore. Now, I would say that from what I've seen, there were a great many people that were excited about the new leadership that had previously been in place in Ghana. You know, he was a one-term president previously. He's on a second term with 2 terms in between with the opposing party. And I think something like this was something that they were looking to fix. Now, October is which month of the year is October? October is the 10th month of the year.
Yeah, we're in the last
they haven't been paid. So this goes before the current administration was in place, if I'm not mistaken, right? When did they take office? In February? January. So this starts right around when they took office, as a matter of fact. And so, you know, I'm interested to see the response coming from the top of the leadership. You know, one of the things that you find in countries around the continent, we're not speaking specifically of Ghana, because I don't know specifically what happened in Ghana here, but in other countries that I'm familiar with, the senior leaderships, the executive directors of these hospitals get large lump sums. $10 million is allocated to these hospitals. And they drive Range Rovers and have houses in London, while the doctors, nurses, and everyone else who works at these government hospitals are not paid. So I would say that is one of the things that you find as a challenge. Now, in this particular case, we will see if these protests do lead to that change. As you mentioned, there was discussion from one of the ministers that they're going to pay the arrears. That's 10 months payment for hundreds of people. So we will keep a close eye on this and keep you all posted, and see if these payments do end up going out to the folks. You know, it is a tough one. I don't want to be critical of anything I don't know and speak on anything I'm unaware of. So I'll just say it as I understand it to be. That is what we understand the issue to be at this point in time. Any other thoughts before we move on?
No.
Okay, cool. So now we are going to speak a little bit more about the specialized courts for faster cybercrime prosecution. So over the last couple of years, many of you may have heard a phrase, Yahoo Boys or 419. If you ever heard those two phrases, let me explain to you what that means. So they both are speaking about types of fraud. 419 is the fraud penal code in Nigeria. That's 419. So like in the United States, 187 is the unaliving of a cop, right? 419 in Nigeria is the penal code number for scams. Yahoo Boys. The reason why they call these young men Yahoo Boys is because internet cafes started popping up all over West Africa, namely in Nigeria, in the early 2000s. And the first email addresses that everybody was getting, including myself and in the United States, was Yahoo email addresses. And if you remember having a Yahoo email address in the early 2000s, there was always these jokes about the Nigerian prince that's emailing you, asking you for money, or somebody offering you a job. You just have to pay this first, et cetera, right? So that is why you hear the term Yahoo Boys, and you hear the name, and you hear the number 419. And but one of the things that I want to be very clear on, because Nigeria gets a really bad rap for this, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're some of the smartest people in the world, and some of them do not use their powers for good. Let's just say it like that. They're getting a bad rap in Ghana as well. But that's not to say that there aren't Ghanaians that are operating under the 419 and Yahoo Boys. But really, most of the people who finance it and who actually are executing the phishing scams and all of the stuff is actually coming generally out of Western Europe or Asia. So, you know, for example, they tracked Hush Puppy and the scams that he was doing to North Korea, right? And so I just want to keep in mind that, you know, although Nigerians and West Africans are getting the blame for it, and, you know, they might be the loudest, wearing the chains, driving the cars, etc., it really does originate elsewhere. And they are taking advantage of some of the challenges that you see in country. For example, if somebody isn't paid 10 months, somebody comes to them and says, you just have to do X, Y, and Z to finally get paid. They're not gonna take too much time to think about it. You know, the way I've spoken to people who are closely linked to people in that space, let's say that. And when I hear these people talk, the way they communicate it to them is, you know, these Europeans came here, they took our lands, they took from us, so now it's time to take from them. And so what they'll tell you is that, like, if you're stealing someone's credit card, it's not somebody who's like you or somebody who's poor. It's a rich person, and they can cancel it, and they won't even lose anything anyway, right? And so that's the way it's presented to many of these people. Many of the people who are operating under these circumstances do not know the damage that they could be doing to another person who might be in a similar position as they are. I say all that with all that context because I think it's important. That context is necessary, and it's gotten bad enough that Ghana is starting to legislate around it to ensure that it is limited and that they have ways to actually prosecute people who take part in these schemes and acts. So we're gonna play this video and we'll have some commentary on the other side.
Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovation, Sam George, has disclosed that his ministry is engaging the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice on the establishment of specialized courts to ensure the swift prosecution of cybercrime cases. The move comes as the government intensifies its crackdown on digital-related offences. Speaking at the launch of the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, Sam George said the government is also taking steps to establish a cybersecurity fund to finance initiatives aimed at protecting the country's digital space.
The CSA, in the last 9 months of your administration, has collaborated in an unprecedented manner with the Criminal Investigation Department of the Ghana Police Service to combat cybercrime syndicates. This has led to the arrest and detention of several suspects numbering in the hundreds this year alone. To ensure swift prosecution, we're working closely with the Office of the Attorney General and the Ministry of Justice to establish a specialized court to handle cybercrime issues. We express our gratitude to the Director General CID for the enhanced collaboration we have enjoyed with her outfit. Furthermore, measures are being implemented to establish sustainable financing mechanisms for cybersecurity. We're committed to establishing the Cybersecurity Fund pursuant to Sections 29 and 30 of the Cybersecurity Act 2020 to ensure the availability of financial resources to support national cybersecurity initiatives, protect critical information infrastructure, and build capacity across all sectors.
All right. So, your thoughts, Ivy, on what they are working on here in Ghana?
I mean, I think that cybercrime is something that's increasing not only in Ghana but around the world with the way that technology is going, and then now especially with AI and stuff. So in Ghana, there's breakdowns of cybercrime, and I know that there's online fraud. So online fraud accounts for like 30%. 36% is what I read. 36% of cases in the first half of this year already for online fraud. And we have cyberbullying, there's blackmail that's happening online. And so I think it's a good thing to have, a specialized crime unit. I know that they already have a cybersecurity unit in their headquarters, but this is a specialized unit that's going to be doing more in depth when it comes to cracking down on some of the things happening. And what particularly happens a lot here is with mobile money. There's a lot of mobile money fraud that's happening in Ghana. And for people watching that don't know what mobile money is, it's sort of like how in the US you have Cash App. So Africa started these mobile apps before the US and other countries did. Africa is where it started in Kenya, and then other countries started to do it too. So in Ghana, it's called mobile money. And so you have people who, make these phone calls, they send text messages telling you to tap on a link, and they're saying that they've sent you money by mistake and you should send it back to them. And there's all this fraudulent activity. Then somebody will, tap on the link. Next thing you know, their entire wallet attached to their mobile phone is like emptied by someone. So I know that's a huge part of the online cybercrime that tends to happen in Ghana a lot. So I can see why it's really important, because there's people losing so much money from these kinds of cases. And some of them have gotten really good at tricking people. Yep. I've gotten some of those calls, and for me, it's always obvious that it's a fraud call. But it's important that they do this. And also amongst young people, I know that there's been increase in like depression and stuff with cyberbullying because of the phones, people taking pictures of people and then blackmailing them that they're going to share the pictures. Oftentimes it's intimate pictures, and it's like, these are young people who are doing this. Even adults, it's not just young people, but people who are taking intimate photos, and next thing you know, things go wrong in relationships or whatnot. Next thing you know, someone is sharing, photos, or blackmailing you that they'll share the photos if you don't do, ABC. So I think it's really good that they are cracking down on this and really taking it as something that's a serious matter, because it is a serious matter.
100%. And I will say to that point about young people. So what is happening is some of these guys are catfishing young boys, right? And they are pretending to be a young girl. And they're saying, I will send you videos and pictures if you send me some. Then the young boy will send the video or picture, and they'll say, now I'm going to share this with everybody in your contacts. I can see all your contacts and everybody, unless you go to your parents and you find a credit card or their mobile money or whatever, and you send me anything that you can send, whatever access you can get. So that is also a new process that's happening. And it's not just happening in Africa, it's happening around the world, but that is something that is happening. And I saw a video of a young guy in his early 20s who had no remorse and no regard, and he was actually executing this kind of a scheme. There are all kinds of scams and schemes online, bank transfer schemes, all kinds of different things. Again, if it's too good to be true, it likely is. But yes, so to the point that you made, I think it's great that they're doing this. Governments are always behind when it comes to cyber warfare and combating cybercrime, and there are always going to be multiple steps behind. And so, you know, the people who are the most innovative in technology are going to be the criminals and those who do adult content, because they have the illicit means to do it. And so it's always going to be a catch up. We're always going to be playing catch up. So educate yourselves. Two-factor authentication. Don't click on links from anybody you don't know. Don't share information with anybody you don't know. And make sure you tell the people you know on the continent or elsewhere those same things. All right. So we'll see what this cybercrime unit does with these enhanced measures and more money, et cetera, et cetera. I hope that they're able to achieve the results they're looking to achieve. All right, so moving on. Kente cloth is now officially recognized and protected as uniquely Ghanaian. Ghana has made history. For years, anyone could print the word Kente on fabric and sell it, even if it never touched Ghanaian soil. But this last week, Ghana confirmed Kente under the geographical indication system, the same legal protection France uses for champagne, or champagne, and Italy for Parmesan. So it means only cloth woven is recognized. Sorry, it means only cloth woven in recognized Ghanaian communities can legally be sold as real Kente cloth. This move took years to work on and work between the Ghana Ministry of Trade and the World Intellectual Property Organization to prove the craft's origin and protect local weavers. So the goal is to turn heritage into export power to make sure when the word and the world buys Kente, the value goes back to the people who created it. This isn't just a cultural win, it's an economic win. And it's a statement of ownership. So with that, I want to play a quick video that explains a little bit more about this, and then we'll have some commentary on the other side.
They've just made it official, right? Only cloth woven in certain Ghanaian communities can now legally be sold as real Kente. The fakes, the factory prints, the cultural copies, they're done. Forget about it. Ghana just did what France did with champagne and what Italy did with Parmesan. They protected the name. You can't slap it on a label and profit off the culture anymore. But as we all know, this is deeper than fabric, right? Kente carries story and status. For years, we've been seeing the patterns on runways and in marketing with no credit and no coins to the people who made it sacred. With this law, Ghana's basically saying, listen, if you want the culture, you pay the creators. Now the real work starts, though. The global fashion and apparel market is worth about $1.8 trillion. Small weavers can't fight billion-dollar brands alone. Ghana's been playing defense and still scored, but now it's time to play offense. And if I was advising Ghana on this, I'd say this, right? Build digital tracking and a public registry of approved weavers. Create a simple license that brands can buy. Stamp a made in Ghana seal that shoppers can verify, and plug into big e-commerce so people can buy straight from Bonwire to Brixton. Bring in diaspora designers to push demand, because heritage without business just becomes history. This is a big win for Ghana, and this is what ownership looks like. So who should be next? Nigeria's Ankara, the Caribbean's Madras. Do you think more countries should protect their culture like this? Let's talk in the comment section.
And there it is. That British accent, I can't even try to, I'm not even going to try. So your thoughts, Ivy, on Ghana being able to get this to happen? I mean, this is big.
I think it's good. I just hope that there's a way, like there's a system in place as far as how are they tracking it, how are they protecting it, because actually it was last year when UNESCO first, so it's like the first step was last year UNESCO recognizing Ghana's Kente as cultural heritage, and then now this indignation as it being a geographical indication is really important. The thing that I thought about when this happened too is I thought it was great, but at the same time I was like, Kente is also woven in Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire, because there are Akan people also in Cote d'Ivoire that before the borders were made, that the people spread there. So that side also has people who weave Kente as well. So does that mean that the people in Cote d'Ivoire now will be penalized if they call their textile Kente when they are also weaving it and selling it? So that's my only concern about that. But I think other than that, I think it's a great thing, and it's just the issue of how are they going to control it? How are they going to manage it? What is it that's going to bring the money back into the system? Like how is it being done is what I want to know.
Yeah, all great points, and I'm to your point, I'm really glad that they did that, and the artificial borders does make that a challenge to say that it's uniquely Ghanaian. It's uniquely Akan, maybe, Ashanti, I don't know, but like to be able to say
Akan,
Akan,
not only Akan actually, because the Ewe people also have Kente, but it's the patterns of the Ewe Kente are woven slightly differently, different colors they tend to use, but the Ewe people also have Kente, not just the Akan.
And there it is. So yeah, I mean that does pose a challenge. Now, I do want to see some of these examples that Charmaine mentioned in this video, specifically around Nigeria. Sierra Leone has its own version with the Creole and other local indigenous tribes in Sierra Leone. Many countries have their own versions, right? The Maasai people, their culture has been Sudanese people. Their culture has been all over, like Louis Vuitton and all these other places. Right. So I'd like to see others take the same path. Sometimes it just takes someone else to do it first for you to see that it's possible and that you should do it as well. Not everybody's even aware it's something that can be done. So I'd like to see others on the continent of Africa do the same. So like in Italy, you can't, if it's not made in Italy, you can't call it champagne. And then you can't call it Parmesan cheese if it's not, sorry, champagne was it?
France. Champagne was France.
Champagne was France. Italy was Parmesan. So I'd like to see the same thing happen with consideration for tribes split up by the European borders. Okay, cool. So I know we are a little bit over time.
Just 4 minutes?
Just 4 minutes. There were two more stories that we were planning to go through, but in the interest of time, I'll just give you the headlines and maybe we can just do a little bit of like an understanding what they are. So two stories about farming in particular in Ghana. So one was the government raised cocoa prices to Ghana raised cocoa prices, Ghana cedis. I don't know how to read it when I see commas. Sometimes I think it's a decimal point, right? Is a comma a decimal point in Ghana? Like is it 3,625 Ghana cedis per bag, or is it $3?
No,
three Ghana cedis.
3,000.
3,000 Ghana cedis per bag. Okay, so from 3,625 Ghana cedis per bag, and then it's also now up to 58,000 Ghana cedis per ton, and then farmers are going to earn 400 Ghana cedis per bag, which is higher than it was before. But as you can see, the disparity between what it's sold for and the price that those farmers are going to get is minimal. Less, basically about 10%? 10% goes to the farmers. So your thoughts on the price raising of the cocoa prices in Ghana?
I mean, I think it's good for them to raise the prices and to raise what the farmers are making. I still think what they're making is not enough for the work that they do. It's unfortunate. I mean, that seems to be a thing with resources in the African continent. A lot of countries are producing products that are used around the world, but yet they're not really benefiting. They're not reaping the benefits to the same level they should be. So, I mean, we still know that chocolate around the world, they're making, billions and billions, while Africans are still not making those billions and billions. So I think it's great that they've increased the price, but I also think it's unfortunate that they're still not making that much.
Ditto. I share the exact same sentiment. They're making 400 CDs per bag, but it's being sold at 3,625 CDs per bag. So yeah, literally 10%. I don't do math in public, but it's a little more than 10%, maybe 11%. Okay, so and then now to the tomato story. So actually, I will play this video because it is a pretty short video, and I do think that it speaks to something that you and I had spoken about. So we'll press play on this tomato video, and then we'll have some commentary on the other side. Oh wait, what am I doing? There we go. Oh, sound.
You be brave, your mommy. Why you be brave, your mass and touch him off. And nay, your person will be ma asante him off. A cost of Kaiwo, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, whom he mobile the MP for Sante Chimnoff or Hini Kwame Frimpong. Many make queer for you. I was for a higher Sante Chimnoff. Maybe a genesis here, I go. Na, you share in toast with a
So we have
Ivy. He's speaking tree. Yeah, so he's speaking tree. So he's saying, we're standing here, look at all these tomatoes, these beautiful tomatoes that were here, and he's begging the president like that they need to do something so that we have our own tomato factories. In Ghana, there used to be a thriving tomato business where there were tomato factories in the country that were exporting tomatoes. Now Ghana imports the majority of its tomatoes, and those tomato factories have collapsed. He's demonstrating that, look, these farmers have been able to grow these beautiful tomatoes. Why can't we do this? And why can't we keep our farmers growing this, and then we grow our tomato industry again? So he wants to revive the tomato business in Ghana, because Ghana imports their tomatoes. Ghana imports their tomatoes from Burkina Faso and from Togo. So it's like, why are we importing tomatoes when we can grow tomatoes here?
And there it is. Yeah. So I mean, look, and this is not unique to Ghana. We've had this conversation in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone gets its onions from Guinea, right? It is something that, and by the way, it's not as if they don't have the tools, because they shipped a bunch of tractors to Burkina Faso over the last year, so Burkina Faso can, revive their farming sector. So it's absolutely possible. I think that his plea makes a lot of sense, and we hope to see homegrown tomatoes in the country of Ghana. All right, I do have to go. I'd love to stay longer, but so any other final thoughts from you, Ivy, before we go to anything?
My final thoughts are that for the diaspora community who's thinking about doing business or living in an African country, that it's important that you pay attention to the politics of those countries so that you get a better understanding of what it's like to live there, what it's like to do business there, what are some of the things that you are going to have to deal with if you're doing business in one of these countries. Because I think we have people that often come on the dream and the hope of moving to a melanated country, and then don't think about that it's still a country that's run by politicians. There are rules and regulations. There are, there are trade agreements between countries that you might want to come and take advantage of a certain trade agreement between two countries that, may work for you. You may want to know more about the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is a trade agreement that's supposed to facilitate doing trade between African countries. Sometimes we think so much about exporting from here to export to America or export to the UK or something, when you could be making something in Ghana that you decide you want to export to Rwanda or export to Kenya or something. You could be trading between the countries. So it's important to understand the politics, understand the news of what's happening in those countries, because it also helps you know the dynamics. I mean, we're bombarded by American news every day. every day we're bombarded by American news, and we don't live in the United States, but it dominates our timelines, and we know everything that's going on in the US, even though we don't live there. And so a lot of times when people move from an African country to the US, they already have a little bit of knowledge about that country because we see your news all the time. We see your news all the time. We see information all the time. But when it comes to the reverse of coming here, you have to be more intentional because you're not readily seeing the stuff. They're not making headlines on CNN about everything happening in Africa. They're choosing the ones they want to show you. So you have to be intentional and be Googling for the things you want to see. And one of the things I'll say is, you might want to get a VPN. So you change your VPN to make it look like you're in a different country so you get accurate news. Because one thing I noticed is whenever I was in the US or I was in Canada, the news that I would try to see from Africa, I wouldn't see everything. I would not see everything. And one time I sat on my laptop and I Googled something at the same time as my friend who I was talking to, and what she Googled, the same thing we Googled. I'm in Ghana, and she's in the US. We Googled the same thing, but we got two different results on what we were Googling based on where we are. So it's important that maybe you might want to change your IP address when you're doing searches for Africa so that you get more accurate information. It opens up the portal more for you to get more of what you need to understand that you may be getting blocked from because of your IP address.
That was really good advice. I never even thought about that. But yes, and yes. I support all of that. And I will just say, as a final thought, if it sounds too good to be true, it likely is. Let's make decisions that are less emotional and more rooted in facts, knowledge, and do your research before anything. And when I say do your research, I mean ensure that it is not single source research from someone who might know something, but really from the source itself. And before we go, I do just want to tell folks to head on over to Ivy Prosper's YouTube channel and press play on this video right here that says, after 4 years in Africa, he's back in America, what happened? And I'm going to play just the intro from it because Ivy did such a great job of like capturing the essence of this interview. And then we'll leave you after that. But let me just play that for a second. And so within 12 months of the year of return, I was living full time here in Ghana. Yeah, so I spent a lot of my savings. I came with $25,000 in cash in my bank account. That was gone within, 6 months. I also emptied out my 401k and sold all of my stocks. And that was a wake-up call for me that in order to really build a business here on the continent, I think, one of the things that I think many West Africans do is they pray to a white Jesus. I can't tell you how many homes I've walked into where above the master bedroom or in a picture frame somewhere, there is a white Jesus. Specifically, we're talking about Christians here. That is one reason why I do think there's this reverence for the European. So there's not much of an understanding of the world pre-colonial. All right, so I love that intro, by the way. That was very well done. And Ivy did this.
I had someone who complained. They were like, "Why do you have the ticking clock in there? I don't like the ticking clock."
I liked it. I thought it was great. And it was so fast after the interview. My interview of you still hasn't even come out yet, and I interviewed you like 5 months ago. So yeah, look, guys,
I was like, I gotta get this out.
It was good though. So we're at 26,000 views on this video, and she posted it a little over a week and a half ago. So definitely, I encourage everybody to go watch it. It's a little bit more about my story. And we did this interview 3 weeks ago when I was in Ghana, just recently.
Yeah, when you were in Ghana.
I was just in Ghana like 3 weeks ago. So yeah, and it's a cautionary tale. It's definitely a cautionary tale for those of you who are thinking about making the move. And I explain why I moved back and what I plan to do to help people make better decisions, et cetera, et cetera. Ivory put the link in the comments here so you guys can see it there. Maybe I'll copy it and paste it as well. But yeah, so make sure you guys go check that out. If you like the dynamic between Ivy and myself, you got this interview to watch. And then I also interviewed Ivy about her deciding to leave the office of what is it? what was it again?
The year of return and beyond the return office under Ghana Tourism Authority.
There it is. So we get to hear Ivy's story about why she left to pursue continue to pursue her career as a content creator, journalist, etc. All right. So with that, guys, don't forget to subscribe to Ivy Prosper's page on YouTube. Follow her on Instagram. Go download her book. Make sure you follow my pages all over all social medias. It's at Authentic African everywhere. Hit that like button on this video if you found this interesting. Share this with at least 3 people you know. 3 people. Send it to 3 people. It's free to do that.
Or you put it in your WhatsApp status, and then everybody on your contacts sees it on your status.
There it is. I like that too. That's another way that you can get this out there. So make sure you share this with anybody you know. And if you haven't already, comment. If you're watching this back as a playback, make sure you comment on this. And thanks to everybody who watched. Sorry we couldn't get to everybody's comments, but we appreciate you all, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. So stay tuned.
Bye for now.